Hello, my name is Rickard, and in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to put together this composite in Photoshop. Now, if you'd like to follow along, I have included all the assets that I use, including 2 custom cloud brushes, in a link in the description of this video. Go ahead, download those, and then let's dive into Photoshop. I'm going to go to File, Open, and inside the assets, I'm going to open this EUN file from Unsplash. And this is a photo of a girl holding some balloons. And I'm going to use this as kind of the basis for my composite. I'm going to have her holding a floating balloon. Now, this kind of background is a bit distracting. And obviously, I want to get rid of the existing balloons she's holding. But I like her stance. I like that she's looking up at him. So let's first go ahead and grab our remove tool, and I'm just going to remove these existing balloons from our scene. And I also don't like this shadow right in her face, so let's go ahead and remove that as well. There you go. All right, that looks good. The next thing I want to do is I want to take this kind of sky and just extend it down to here so I don't have these big bushes in the background. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and add a new layer. We can call this sky. And I'm going to select my gradient tool here. I want to make sure I'm on foreground to transparent. And then I'm going to select this color here, kind of the darkest gray color here, and then I'm going to hit X and then select this blue color. So now I have both of those colors here in my 2 palettes. I'm going to hit X again so that my foreground color is the kind of gray white, and then I'm going to go to right about here in the background and just hold down Shift, and then draw that in to create kind of my horizon line. Next, I'm going to hit X so that I have my blue color selected, and then just pull that down. So something like this. Maybe I can go in from either side to just make it a little bit more curved. I also want just the top of the sky to be a little darker. So I'm going to push my color here just into this kind of darker blue area here. And then I'll go just from the top here to about there. So something like that. All right, then I also want to add just a little more interest to my sky. So I'm going to go here, add a new layer. We'll call this clouds. And here I'm going to go onto my brush tool, and I have some Nucly cloud brushes. I'll go ahead and put the ones that I end up using inside the assets folder for this tutorial. I'm going to grab this one right here, and I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger. And here I want to default my colors to black and white, so I can do that by hitting D on my keyboard and then X to make white my foreground color. And I'm going to go ahead and click here. I think that looks good. And got to be careful if I move this and I didn't go right to the edge there. So what I may want to do here is go Command Z, kind of go back to before I did the brush. Make sure my brush is small enough to be fully contained. And then I can always move it around or make it bigger after the fact. So here I want to probably go something like this. Then I'm going to do one more layer, and we'll call this clouds 2. And here I want to make kind of smaller clouds that are toward the horizon. So maybe these, we'll make these. I'm going to hold down Option to select kind of this off-white color in the background, and then add just a few more kind of detail clouds there. So maybe I will select a different one just so that we don't have anything looking like it's cloned. So something like that. So now we've just added some nice detail to our background. The next thing I'm going to do is bring in my elephant. So I'm going to do Command O on my keyboard, select the elephant from Unsplash, go ahead and remove the existing background. I'm going to convert this to a smart object and then pull this into my composite here. I'm going to do Command T for transform and flip this horizontal. I want this to be kind of where she's looking. So right about there, make it a bit smaller. About there. And then I want to pull this in so that it's more kind of the basic shape of a balloon. So I'm going to do Command T again, click on this for transform, kind of toward the bottom here. I'm going to pull these together so that they're almost going into like where the bottom of a balloon would be, and also kind of changing the shape up here. Again, I want it all to feel more like the shape of a balloon. So something like this. I want to make sure the face of the elephant's not too distorted, so something like this. Okay, I'm going to pull this down to about there, and also maybe move up my cloud to maybe around there. Okay, and then I need the knots for the bottom of the balloon, so I'm going to open this file from Unsplash, and I'm just going to steal the bottom of this. So first, let's go ahead and remove the background. I'm going to go ahead and apply this layer mask, and then just grab a rectangular marquee and just grab the bottom of this here, Command C, and then Command V. I'll go ahead and start shaping this to be the bottom of my balloon here. So something like this. And then I need to make this black and white so it's matching our color as well. So I'm going to do that with my black and white adjustment. That way I can take my reds and my magentas and make those darker to match the tone of our background elephant here. So something like this. Okay, and then we'll do Command T again, just transform this to match the shape of our elephant in our background here. So something like this. And then we'll go ahead and add a mask to that, and with a soft brush, we'll just kind of blend this together. So something like this. And we'll need something a little sharper for here. So something like that. I'm going to add a mask to the elephant and just get rid of the things that are popping up there. Okay, so that's a pretty good elephant balloon there. I'm going to take both of these layers that make up our elephant balloon, and also just on this balloon, kind of get rid of the white line here, just like that, because we're going to be adding our own. So I think that's pretty good. Let's take both of these and we'll convert this to a new smart object, and we'll call this elephant. And I'm going to go ahead and try this Harmonize tool, see what Photoshop thinks we might need to adjust to harmonize these. So I'm not really crazy about any of these. I do like the fact that it's telling us we need a shadow, though. That's kind of cool. If anything, this is probably the one that's the most kind of an intriguing take. I do like the shadows that it's adding to the balloon. So maybe what I'll do is I'll take this and put this on kind of a soft light and then clip it to my original elephant there. Kind of like the lighting changes it's doing. Maybe put the opacity of this to like 50%. And then I'm also going to add a curve layer, clip that as well, and just add a little more yellow to this scene, just so that it kind of counterpoints and there's more yellow coming from this and kind of lighting that elephant there. So, and then maybe I'll also just give it a bit of a light push, so something like that. Okay, now I need to add the string here. I'm going to do that with my pen tool. I'm going to draw the string from here to there and then add a kind of a realistic curve, something like this maybe. Then I'm going to add a new layer and we'll call this balloon line. I'm going to go here and default my colors, make sure foreground color is white, go onto a brush, kind of go down here, zoom into where our hand is. I want to make sure this is a brush with 100 hardness. I'm going to go down in size to like 4 or 5. And then I'm also going to change the angle of this so that as our line goes up, it's also fluctuating a little bit in terms of its size. So something like this, make sure that path is selected and then click here. That's going to draw a line there from there. And then we can deselect our path and just underneath here, just kind of draw where the bottom of this might be as it's hanging from her hand there. So that looks pretty good. And then what we can also do here is hold down Option and just nudge it once to the left, and then Option again and nudge it to the right twice. Now what that's doing is it's making some copies. This is going to help us just make this a little more obvious. I'm going to take our last copy here, do Command U and start making this darker. That's going to give us a little bit of a shadow at the bottom of our rope. I'm going to take this and put it underneath our middle one there. So just like that. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice. The one thing is this line might disappear. So what I might do is take one more copy of it, hold down Option, and just bump that to the left till we make our line a little thicker there. And then the other thing I might do is go underneath the elephant and underneath the line here, just make a kind of a broad selection of this area. So something like this, and I know it's a rough selection. I'm going to add a curve and just make it darker until I've got my line showing up nicely there. So right about there. And then I'm going to go in here and just feather this until you can't quite tell that it's there anymore. So around 450. Now it's just making behind that line a little bit darker. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. The last thing I want to do is just add a little bit of a kind of color grade to the whole thing. And also maybe some film grain and sharpness to make this look more illustrated. So let's do the sharpness first. I'm going to add a new layer. We'll call this sharpness. And I want to do Shift Option Command E to merge everything into one layer, and then go to Filter, Other, High Pass. 2.5 pixels is about what you want. Let's hit OK, and let's put this on Linear Light. And if I turn that on and off, you can see that's giving it some nice sharpness. It is probably too strong, so we can take our fill down to about 35. Okay, then next we're going to add another layer. We'll fill this layer with 50% gray, and I'm going to call this layer Film Grain, and convert this to a smart object, and then go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and here I want to go to the Effects, turn on the grain, turn up the size, and then turn down the roughness. So right about there looks good. And then we're going to put this on Linear Light as well, and it's going to be too strong, so again we'll take our fill down here to around 50%. And then the last thing I want to do is a bit of a color grade, and I'm just going to do that with a curve layer here. I'm going to go to my blues, lift that up, and then take down yellows. That'll give it a bit of a vintage look, and then maybe a little bit of reds, and also maybe just a bit of green here. And I feel like that kind of gives it a little bit more of a storybook color. And then the last thing is we may want to just recrop this, kind of get rid of some of this top and bottom dead space. So here I'm going to do first a 4x3. So we'll do 4x3, actually 3x4. 3x4. So maybe something like this is a cool crop. And then the other thing I might want to do here is also do a wide version of this. And Photoshop has made that quite easy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Image, Duplicate, and I'm going to go to my crop tool, and I noticed that I delete crop pixels. So what we want to do here is I'm actually just going to flatten this first, and then we're going to go back onto our crop tool and change this to 16:9. And then I'm going to make this so that I have my child in there, I have the balloon in there, and I'm going to change my fill here to Generative Expand. What that'll do is it'll use AI to fill in the left and the right. And I don't know about the bail. I think I'd rather just have a plain background, so something like this. I also do like this one, kind of did a little bit more to fill in that negative space with some clouds. So I think I'll go with that one. And we can merge those two, and there you go. So now we have both our wide version and our 4x3 kind of layered version there. So there you have it. That's how you put together that composite in Photoshop, and hopefully through this you learn some tips, tricks, and techniques that you can use in your own projects. Now, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications, leave a like, share this video, leave a comment on what other videos you'd like to see. And if you want to get my full set of custom cloud brushes, I will include a link to those in the description of this video. It includes similar brushes to the ones we used in this project, as well as a whole bunch more, as well as some color overlays that you can use in your projects as well. If you're adding clouds and you want some unique and interesting clouds in your scene, it's a great resource, as you can see in this project. So check those out. They're in a link in the description of this video. Otherwise, here's some other tutorials that you can check out, and I will see you next time.